Hey, it's Heidi. Welcome back for Life Lessons with a Y. Why? Because it stands for Love Yourself First Empowerment, so that you can have all the tools you need to overcome any self sabotage, codependent, nonsense behavior that's keeping you from the life of your dreams, so that you can really have the relationships you deserve and the life that you really want. And I'm going to talk about one behavior today that, oh my God, can I relate to this one? Oh, Lord. And so can you, apparently, because it was a request. If you'd like to request a video, go over to lovecoachheidi.com and send me a message and let me know what video I can make for you. It's my pleasure to do it. But the one that came up over and over again recently was overthinking. And I think I'd done another thing about second guessing yourself, but I thought about it, the overthinking, and I was like, really, wow, yeah, let me really do a deep dive into this and what it really means and what it's really like to be an overthinker. As you know, if you're watching this video, it's psychological torture, right, that we're doing to ourselves. And I can relate to that. For many, many years, I actually call it the shredder with my clients, the psychological shredder. And the shredder is that place in your mind that lives as like the CPO of the system, the chief protective officer, right? And its job is to make sure of like two things. I know in my life, right? Two things. Don't let me make a mistake. And Lord, don't let me make me look like an idiot, right? So I'll do anything to avoid looking bad or not looking like I don't know what I'm doing, and heaven forbid make a mistake that could end up getting me hurt, or just be destructive in general. So it goes through the shredder. Now, here's how the shredder operates. Okay, let's do our handy dandy whiteboard. If you're not familiar, step number one is you think about a decision that you need to make. It could be big or small. It could be leaving an ex, starting a new job, leaving a job, sending an email. It could be as benign as whether or not to send that damn email that you've been waiting to send to Shirley for a couple of weeks. We're like, should I send it? So think about the decision. Then step two, immediately begin mental torture. Scrutinize every single details and actually marinate on the 50 different possible outcomes that could happen should you do the decision. Make a decision. Step number three. JK, totally kidding. Question immediately. Second guess the decision that you made. Move into round two. Up the ante. Really, now it starts to become like mental masturbation, right? It's in there, it's going back and forth. And then all of a sudden, you become immediately overwhelmed, right? So then what do? We become overwhelmed. We do nothing. F it. I'm just going to do nothing. Then all of a sudden we feel bad about our procrastination. We judge ourselves for procrastinating. So then we want to feel better. So then we eat something, start eating too much food, drink something, numb ourselves, buy some stuff on Amazon, focus on other people's problems, just ignore the decision totally and do something else. Then we immediately feel guilty about that. Beat the crap out of ourselves for doing that behavior, which launches us right back into step number one. Get back on the horse, think about the decision, start the process. I mean, I'm laughing, but it's not funny. You know what this is like, right? You've done this. The problem with the shredder is that it doesn't work, right? It doesn't work. And 9 times out of 10, like, we think it's going to prevent us from making that bad decision or doing whatever, but it doesn't. And then actually it has a third mode, it has a secret mode. The psychological shredder goes into shoulda shredder mode after we make that mistake. And that's the mode where it's like judgment and scrutiny. And it just keeps playing over and over again, what you should have done. You should have done it this way. You should have done it that way. And then it just launches us into total paralysis. And so, man, how do we get out of that? What is the ticket to getting out of that behavior? And first of all, how do we get into that behavior, right? How did this come about? Well, for many of us, this psychological shredder actually has a fine-tuned skill. And I'm not downplaying it. You're brilliant. I know you are, because you're watching these videos. Okay. But you're brilliant. So your shredder became a finely tuned machine, and likely it worked for you for a very long time. I know for me, I grew up super unpredictable. I didn't know what the hell was going on from one minute to the next. And my shredder, my ability to like make sense of things and like predict things and try to like stay in control of things, was a way to like make sense of everything, and gave me kind of a false sense of control, right? But the problem with that shredder is that, number one, you're not really in control. And number two, as I grew up, it just was producing anxiety, angst, and agony. I would find that this mental, like psychological torture was really keeping me from living a life. Even if I'd arrive at a decision was good, the process that it took me to get there would negate the whole thing to begin with. And I wanted there to be like an easier way, right? Like a freer, a way that was just easier to deal with, like come at my decisions more naturally without so much anxiety over them. I knew there was a better way. Actually, there is a better way. Turns out there is a better way. Now I'm going to say something to you and you're going to go, oh, thanks, Sherlock. That's brilliant. Look, I'm going to tell you the difference is when we stop trying to do and figure everything out and we get out of our head and into our God-given right, which is our intuition, our higher self, a self with a capital S, that place inside of us that always knows no matter what. But here's the problem. You're born with that, right? You're going to say, oh, no kidding. I'll just get into my intuition. Easier said than done, especially for somebody like you who's used to ignoring that intuition as much as you have for a long time. Like those red flags you keep pretending aren't there. That every time you have that nagging feeling like you should pick up the phone and call that person, but you don't do it. Every time you have that pit in your stomach when that person calls and you don't want to answer the call, but you do anyway. Every time you're going into work, you have that pit. You don't want to go there. You go anyway. Every time you have that idea in the shower and you're like, man, I should really do that, but you don't act on it. Why? Because you have been suppressing your intuition and your guidance system for the sacrifice and betterment of everybody else at the sacrifice of yourself, for the betterment of everybody else, because it's easier when you're in growing up in a family like that, or if you're in a toxic or dysfunctional environment now, where it's easier to ignore your intuition and actually just don't rock the boat, right? So you've gotten very good at shutting off your gut and ignoring how you're feeling to people please everybody else. So that's why you need to be reminded of it. It's like a walk back home to your birthright of learning how to tap back into that intuition so that you can make decisions easier, detach from the psychological shredder, and learn how to like just be in total knowingness, right? Because isn't that the place you want to get to, where you just kind of know? A lot of you are on the fence. You're torturing yourselves with decisions about these people in your life or these situations in your life where you're on the fence. Should you stay? Should you go? Will it change? Won't it change? Are you going to let the wrong person go? Will you be regretful? Is that the one that got away? Will you be able to do it? It's all fear-based. This place, no fear lives. No fear lives in this place, just absolute knowing and absolute love. But again, it's like if you had a muscle and I tied it up behind your back and you didn't use it, it'd atrophy. And that's what happens with your intuition. Just because it's there doesn't mean that you know how to access it anymore. Sometimes you don't know, is that your intuition or gas? Okay, I'm not kidding. Like you really are like, oh, is that the feeling? Am I putting my stomach or am I hungry? So I want to help you get back to that place of absolute knowing. And I'd love to do that, and seek me out. And I hope I can come alongside of you and help you do that. These are the types of things that we actually conquer inside of Life School. Love with a Y. Why? Because it's Love Yourself First Empowerment School, where we learn how to tap into our inner truth and then live it, and then speak it, and then live it, right? It's like three different things. But let me give you some tips for now. The first thing we've got to do is get out of our head. Because that's not where the intuition lives. It doesn't live in there. That's your protective mechanism, this neocortex. Lord, love it, right? But it's steering you wrong sometimes. So we've got to get in more into our center of ourself. Now, a lot of people say meditate. I don't know about you, but when I sit down, as soon as I sit down, it's like shredder goes, ding, it's time to go to work. And honestly, I don't have the desire to learn how to meditate, right? I know if you sit long enough and watch the thoughts and the thoughts, watching the thoughts, honey, I'm tired just thinking about that. That doesn't sound good to me. I found a different way. I actually dance. I do a type of conscious dance where it's embodiment dance, where, you put on music where you don't care what it looks like. I'm not like at the club and I'm trying to like do my dance, like I'm a hip hop dancer. I'm literally putting on music that is takes me to a place where I'm not even conscious of how I'm moving my body. I'm just letting my body move how it wants to move. It doesn't have to look pretty or look a certain way. I change the music so that it inspires me to move my body in different ways and tap into different parts. I actually have a thing that I created called Empower Dance. If you come to one of our retreats, you'll be able to experience this. I guide people through a conscious dance practice where we learn how to go tribal even. I know it sounds scary for some of you. Trust me, you'll be in good hands if you come to a retreat. But the process of dance and this guided process allows you to just get out of your head totally and into your body, which has been the place that most of us avoid. We don't feel comfortable in our own skin. We don't trust our intuition. We don't feel rooted down in our truth. And we go up into our head to think about it instead. After dance, many people experience this kind of what they call like a download, right? Where they hear from the universe crystal clear what's next. I call that an upload because I really believe, I know it's semantical, but I really believe it's within you. It's all within you. It's here. It's not outside of you. You don't need to let it come in. You need to let it up and come out, right? And this prevents that. This overthinking prevents that. So getting into that space, right? Being still. 9 times out of 10 after you've moved your body that way and you've danced or done something super physical, which has a spiritual kind of intention to it. Dancing is a very divine connection. Anything else that gets you in that space that would bypass the mind, bypass the body, get into that truth space is going to help you be still. Now, I'm not the first person that's like come up with this, right? Many, many masters have told you that your true self, your highest knowing, like Jesus said, be still and know that I'm God and that God within, like be still and know, you just know, right? Lao Tzu said, from the Tao Te Ching said, do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles and the water gets clear so that the right action arises by itself? Right? Like that muddy water, just waiting for it to clear. What happens when Lao Tzu is saying, when we get in there in the water, in the psychological shredder, we're stirring up the muddy water with the processing, the overthinking. So you have the patience to just let the mud settle until the right action arises by itself because you can see clearly. Right? That is getting out of the mind into the body, into the spirit. And so I just want to encourage you. I hope this resonates with you today. If you're overthinking, I know that shredder, especially the shredder, honey, is a nightmare. And so I want to help you get out of that trap that you're in, that psychological trap that you're in, and help you really root down in your truth. Let me help you walk back home. Because ultimately it is a remembering of who you are and what you know. And it's a coming home. It's learning first what your truth is, learning how to speak your truth, and then learning how to live into your truth. And that is what I know will set you free. All right. I look forward to hearing from you very soon. Send me a private message if you want me to come alongside of you. I'm grateful to do that. Until next time, be blessed.